We're
Weekend
rolling?
recap.
Are we
Yeah,
live?
yeah, we're live. Hold on. Give me a second to tweet out this YouTube link so that
Okay.
people know we're live.
All
Right
right.
now, the only people who know are the people who are subscribed to our YouTube account, which is not much.
Okay.
Okay.
Look at me just going back to back live.
You're gonna get tired of seeing your own face, buddy.
Already am, pal.
All right. We're live on YouTube with a link. Post that to Twitter. Post that to. Does anyone call it X? I hope not.
Elon Musk.
You
Then
think he
again, he might be
does?
speaking about his child. Doesn't he have a child named X?
He does have a child named X. That is not incorrect. All right. All I have to do is hit retweet or repost or something on this, and all right. I think we're ready to start the show. Let's recap the weekend, Darren.
All right. This is section 1904. It is Monday. That means this is a free episode. You don't have to be a subscriber, although we would love for you to be a subscriber to section 1904. I'm Darren Smith. He's John Gennaro. Monday weekend recap. These are always unlocked. They're always free. So give us a shot here. Got about 60 minutes or so. And John is fumbling around with some other stuff. I have no idea what he's doing, but I think that we are attempting to go live on different platforms. So hey, everybody, how are you? Hey, hi. Maybe you can interact with us a little bit. Where can people find us? We're on YouTube, I think. So
Yes.
I'm just paying the bills on YouTube today. Between Marty Time Television and now Section 1904, just a YouTube star here. Just call me Jake Paul.
You know, it's a really good reminder that I need to put my phone on Do Not Disturb so it doesn't ring like Marty's rang while you were on her show.
Some
See?
things will never change. Some things will never, ever change with her. It's the same controlled chaos of getting something up and running with her that it's always been. John, I have switched positions with my microphone. So I would like your professional analysis of how it is that I sound, if I sound different at all from previous episodes of Section 1904 since we made the switch to these Shure mics. I didn't like the way I sounded when I was listening back to the Joseph Lowery interview.
Yeah.
Maybe there's only so much I could do here because I do feel like I'm in a little bit of an less than ideal acoustic situation with a little bit of echo. But I have switched my microphone around. So have you noticed anything that is different or better here in the first 60 seconds of today's broadcast?
You know what? I was so worried about setting up live broadcasts and sending out tweets to them and everything that I wasn't paying attention. But now that you bring it to my attention, I do think it sounds a little bit better. I hear a little bit less of an echo and a little bit more bass. So good job on you.
Bass. How low can you go? All right. Had a good weekend?
I had a good weekend. It was a very good weekend. I was a little bit in my own head for a lot of it, but no, we spent some time in the pool. I gave my daughter her first real like tennis lesson. That was fun. Got in a bike ride, which I've been neglecting my actual road bike for a while now, so that was fun. And spent yesterday at the beach. I think this is like 2 or 3 weekends in a row in which I went to the beach and swam in the Pacific Ocean. And
wow,
I got to tell you, Darren, as long as it's above 70 degrees, I'm game. And yesterday at La Jolla Shores, maybe my second or third least favorite beach in all of San Diego, but that's where family was meeting me. I swam in the 71-degree water. There was fish swimming around my feet, like big fish, Darren, like a giant, like silver. I don't know what they were. They were scaring the hell out of the kids, but I thought it was cool. But yeah, got some swimming in the Pacific Ocean. That's therapy right there.
it is. And you're so right about that. And it's ridiculous that I live 150 yards from the Pacific Ocean and I never go in it. Although I was tempted on Sunday. So our neighbors had a birthday party for their 2-year-old. And the birthday party started at the beach at 11 in the morning. So we helped them set up. We had tents, we had chairs, we had coolers, we had towels, umbrellas. We have all of the things in our garage.
Of course.
And the father of the 2-year-old, Moises, he brought a surfboard. He just went right out. They live 4 houses down from us and no hesitation whatsoever. Just jumped into the ocean and it looked so great. It looked so peaceful out there. And I thought, and I shouldn't say peaceful, probably not the right word because the waves, I think there's a south swell, John. So there were quite a few waves that were pretty tasty looking, but it looked so fun to be out. And I really came as close as I think I've come to going in the ocean here in Imperial Beach. Now the signs are still up that say you shouldn't go swimming in this water.
Yeah.
That does not stop the people who are out there who are surfing. So plenty of people still go in the water here. People think, oh, the beaches are closed. The beaches are closed. Nobody goes in the water. There's still lots of people that go into the water. But my friend Moises went in. He said, listen, I grew up in Peru. I don't know that they have crystal clear waters there in Peru either. So he goes without any hesitation. And I really, really thought about it, but I think it was the temperature that probably scared me away. I'm a bit of a puss when it comes to that. It's got to be a little bit more than 70 for me to go in the water. So I just got back from Cancun, though. I had that itch, and I
Well, so
wanted to go back in, but I just decided against it.
here's my question. When you go in the water, what do you typically do? Do you just hang out, jump over waves, or are you like,
Waves.
are you a body surfer?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a little boogie boarding.
I did well. Body surfing, I think, is when you
Yeah.
when you try and swim and catch the wave without a boogie board. I did a lot of body surfing yesterday because, as you said, the waves were tasty, and
Sounds swell.
the body surfing was great. Except there were a couple times where I was catching like a real big wave, and you turn and you look, and like 5 feet in front of me is like a 6-year-old kid with a boogie board that I'm just gonna crash into. So I got to pull out of it. I'm like, damn it. But yeah, had a lot of fun, burned a lot of energy. The 71 degrees took, I don't know, 30 seconds to get used to once you jumped in. But I will say, we got back from the beach, and as has become our regular occurrence, when we get back from the beach, you're all sandy and everything. My daughter likes to jump in our pool because then all the sand washes off into the pool, which I'm fine with. It's fine. And so we get home and she jumps in the pool and she's like, Daddy, you should get in. It's really nice. The pool this weekend, just because it's been so hot lately, the pool was like 85. And so I got home and I jumped in the pool. I was like, okay, that's much nicer than the 71-degree ocean, but no body surfing in the pool.
No, that doesn't really fly unless you have one of those wave pools, like you're at the Gaylord Pacifica down there in Chula Vista. They
have
have
a
one of
wave
those
pool?
wave pools. Yeah.
Is it like the wave house in Mission Valley where it's just like one consistent wave, or is it one of the ones where the wave goes from one side of the pool to the other?
No, it's more swimming than it is surfing. The one in Mission Beach is one specifically for
Surfing, yeah.
surfing, right?
Yeah.
No, this is more just the water goes up and down or whatever.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I suppose. So, well, I didn't get in the water, and so there's nothing really to report on that front, but did have a good day at the beach, and we're reminded too, like we do live this close to the beach. We can go to the beach. The beach is, I know that there's sand, and sand is definitely the worst part of the beach, but it is a fun experience to go to the beach and see the ocean and be there and hear the waves crashing and get a little bit of sun, and we had a good time. So that was our Sunday. Saturday, of course, dominated by SDFC in this ridiculous match from Kansas City, Kansas. So we had that. We had the Padres taking 2 out of 3. And here we are on the Monday recap pod. And we're getting set for Padres and Giants and Dodgers and 13 straight against these NL West opponents. So I feel like there's a lot going on. And of course, now I'm logging on the ESPN and seeing that Texas football has been ranked #1. So college football, means is right upon us, the start of the college football season. Of course, I made a mistake of flipping on ESPN for 5 seconds today, and I heard Stephen A. Smith say something about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were talking about expectations of the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is after I got done listening to Donald Trump ramble on about Washington, D.C. and Ukraine for like 7 minutes. I was like, well, what is going on? And then I flipped and I went through ESPN, and I heard Stephen A. Smith say that going to the playoffs isn't enough. He'd rather, if he as a fan of a team, he'd rather a team not go to the playoffs if the team doesn't win in the playoffs. He'd rather the team just don't qualify for the playoffs than go to the playoffs and not win a game, which I thought was just such an interesting approach. I was like, what is he talking about?
It's funny because since you podcasted or I guess hosted a YouTube show with Marty Caswell this morning, I had a little bit of extra time and I was like, I haven't written anything in a little while. Let me write something. So I wrote about being very, very excited for this next 2 weeks, actually maybe next month, for the Padres, for San Diego FC, and for San Diego Wave. Like they're all in very important positions, right? And like the next 13 games for the Padres are probably going to determine whether or not they can win the division this year. The next 4 or 5 games for San Diego FC is going to determine a lot about how we feel about this team heading into the playoffs, if they've broken records for expansion teams. And the Wave have been struggling a little bit with their offense, and it needs to get better if they want to be in a good spot going into the playoffs. I wrote about that, but I started writing about how there are a lot of people who claim to be sports fans, and especially a lot of people who cover sports professionally, who don't actually like watching sports. They don't like the not just the entertainment, but like the tension and the narratives, and all they care about is like transactions and content and trade deadlines and free agency and roster building and making predictions and trying to be right so you can try and pretend like you're smarter than everyone. And so I made this point of like the next few weeks, this is why we watch sports. And I know it's not a championship game. Like championship games are kind of why you watch sports. But the next 13 games are going to feel like playoff games for the San Diego Padres. The next 4 games are probably going to feel kind of like playoff games to San Diego FC. Like, this is why I watch sports. This is why I'm so excited to be working in sports, because I still get a little bit of energy, electricity through my body when one of the teams I'm in is in a big, important sports game or sports week or sports month. I don't think Stephen A. Smith has felt that electricity through his body as it comes to as it pertains to sports in a while.
I think, this is something that I've talked about a lot, and I think this is what you're saying is you and I are journey guys. No, not the band from San Francisco, but journeys and destinations. I'm all about the journey. Like, that's the whole point of this. Like, the whole point of living life is because you're on this journey. That's the fun of being through the regular season. And I understand regular seasons can drag and you play 162 times and there's all these playoff spots. It becomes tedious when you're thinking about baseball in May and June and even a little bit into July. And I was asked yesterday, as a matter of fact, how much longer is this MLS season? I was like, yeah, 8 more. It goes till October 18th. That's the decision, like October 18th. Yeah. But, like, being part of the journey to me is always that's always the experience of it all. I've never understood the mentality of every season's a failure. If you don't win a chance, you're like, what? No, like that. You know how many memories you make along the way? You know how many friendships you make along the way? You know how many times you have experiences that become part of who you are? Like, it becomes part of your future based on the journey of some random Tuesday night or whatever the situation might be. Like, so I'm the same way as that. Like, I love that stuff. We'll get into the SDFC game, which I will admit was a ridiculous game on Saturday, but it was a part of the journey of SDFC, just the same way that the next 13, I think, are part of the journey. Yeah, I'm all about that. I like taking the ride. I do think that that's a big part of the sport as well, is just just being there, kind of being present, not worrying about what it's going to mean in October.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but they also ask these guys to say a lot of stupid shit on television every day. So you got to say something,
right? Yeah.
But that's the other point. I think that's the point I thought you were going to make is, good luck getting anything that you care about to be paid attention to by national media, because those days are over. Because now it's college football and it's pro football season, and if that's your jam, then you know where to go. But if you still want a ton of baseball and you still want a ton of local coverage, well, I think you know where to go. So, good luck. Like, it's the end of baseball season as far as ESPN and some of the networks are concerned.
Yeah, no. I was just getting into like sometimes people ask me like, why do you like sports so much? Right.
Yeah,
like, I'm sure you've gotten this question from people who don't watch sports and they don't get it. And they're like, why is this a big deal to you? And I'm like, because it's really enjoyable. Like, it's just enjoyable to watch it and enjoyable to know these stories and what these moments mean. And yeah, sometimes like, I'm going to tell you a story that's kind of embarrassing to me, but we've been friends long enough, Darren, that you have a number of embarrassing stories about me already. Did I ever tell you the story of Daniel Camarana's grand slam, his Slam Diego moment for me, from my perspective?
No, this is against the Washington Nationals and Max Scherzer a couple of years back.
Yes, I was at this game. I was standing out by where the Tony Gwynn statue used to be, chatting with, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 different friends some of them are Padre fans, some of them weren't. And bases are loaded. Here comes Daniel Camarana. And someone said, what if he hits a grand slam? And I said, if he hits a grand slam, I'm ripping off my shirt and losing my goddamn mind. And about a minute and a half later, I hear the crack of the bat. I turn, I look back at where the ball's going, and I go, no way. I hear the crowd explode, and then I ripped off my shirt, and I ran laps around the Tony Gwynn statue, whipping the shirt around my head, hoping that I wasn't going to get arrested by ballpark security. But I was like, it was such a crazy moment. And I was like, first of all, I have to pay it off because I said I would do it. And secondly, I was like, I want to remember this crazy moment. And I don't just want to remember it because it gets referenced in a Padres game sometimes. I want to remember it from my perspective. I want to make it a big moment. It matters to nobody except Padre fans. And it matters a lot to almost nobody except for like me and Daniel Camarana's families. But those moments are why I'm a sports fan.
Moments. I mean, again, I think, that's just maybe a little bit of maturity is, that's sort of what you're seeking out in life, are these moments that you really, really cling to. That's the real tragedy of the Chargers leaving is that they have just deprived so many people in San Diego of creating more memories and moments, that would have lasted for a really, really long time. We get it. It's a billionaire, an unsympathetic, callous, selfish billionaire who moved a team. But, what he did is, he just damaged the psyche and the people here who had supported that sucker for 56 years. So, yeah, I mean, that's what the tragedy is. It's not that you don't have a place to go tailgate on a Sunday. Like, that's not really what it is, even though that becomes part of the overall experience of being a sports fan. So, yeah, I mean, it's community. It's kind of what Section 1904's mission statement is creating a community to the point now where you see it, like you experience it, you live it every day on the Discord channel. You see the community that's being built there, which is what I love so much about what it is that you and I are doing here. Anyway, didn't expect to wax so philosophically right out of the gate, but I guess this is just our headspace to get the day rolling, to get the week rolling here on a Monday, huh?
Yeah, actually, can I ask you a quick another sidetrack question that hopefully won't take too long? So I was talking to my therapist this morning. This is relevant to all the things we were just talking about how right now I'm having a hard time when I have nothing to do and no input in my brain. I actually mentioned to my therapist the whole Savasana thing that Mikey Varas does with SDFC. I was like, that sounds like torture to me. Like just laying there, like literally no input into my brain whatsoever. I'm just left with nothing. And I have to experience that and think my way through that. You at one point told me that your wife Leah would sometimes walk into a room and you would just be like sitting in a chair in the dark, not doing anything, basically trying to experience the nothingness of like Savasana. Do you still do that?
Yeah. I mean, it happens.
It's a really
I would
good
say I'm
mental
usually a little
practice.
bit more distracted, though. I would say I'm usually not sitting there doing nothing. I might have, I might be scrolling through something, hopefully not too much doom scrolling or watching something, trying to absorb a little bit of information that'll help me either here or it'll help me during the broadcast. But it's funny because she and I just had this conversation. We went for a walk, I want to say on Friday afternoon. And she's like really grinding at work now. And she said that she was driving recently and just no music, no audiobook. Just she's like, I needed the silence of my thoughts. Like that's all I needed is just, and I was like, I get it. Like I go through that all the time. That is something that I do on a regular basis where I'm like, usually the car experience is like, well, let me catch up on a podcast, Oh, let me see what's happening. Let me check out what is happening on local radio. But like, I was like, yeah, I totally get that. Like, I totally understood the feeling that she had of like, I just can't, I just needed the silence of my own thoughts. I needed to not be distracted. I still like, I think I didn't go to therapy today, but my therapy is yoga. Like I had a great 40-minute yoga session today. And I just thought like physically and mentally, just being able to tune everything out was for me such a great way to start this Monday. So like, yeah, I don't know that that's the same, but like I do that without distraction. That for me, I think we look at it differently. My wife looks at it as exercise. I look at it as mentally, like I need the mental concentration of just focusing on clearing things out, getting set, getting squared away, moving around a little bit, doing all the things physically, but like the mental side is definitely the part that I cherish. I think even more than the physical side when it comes to some of those practices. So yeah, I'm all about the Savasana. I hate when my mind starts wandering. And that's the great thing about it. Like I've never achieved it. So, you're constantly in pursuit of it. Like I've never had a session where I've not thought about what am I going to talk about on the show? Or what do I have to do when this is done? Or is that my phone buzzing over there? Right. So,
but that's the whole
challenge. That's
the whole thing of like Buddhism and enlightenment and nirvana is that like it's basically unreachable. Like Buddha's, they claim Buddha's a real person and whatever, but it's basically unreachable. You can't get to a point where you completely shut your brain off. And if you could, how amazing would that be?
Can I tell you though, like literally, I can remember one time in one practice, and like I'm not kidding when I say this. Like I can remember one time where I felt like I got it completely shut off.
For how long?
I would guess it was about not long, like 60 seconds. You
Did
know,
it feel,
but
did it feel great the rest of the day?
yeah, I mean, it's sort of like people who think they see the green flash, I suppose. Like it was just like you can remember the one time. Like I remember one time where I was able to like completely shut my body down, and I don't know how long it was, but I literally do remember that one time. Now I'm pretty good at it. You know, I can focus on my body and the breathing and all that sort of
Right.
stuff. You know, but in terms of feeling like you're completely on that level, like I'm telling you, it doesn't happen very often. Anyhow,
It's the journey, Darren.
I believe it. I mean, I'm a firm believer in that. I know sometimes this was a little much for sports talk radio listeners, but I was a big believer in that. You know, you win, you win. I mean, Padres are probably not going to win. You know, SDFC is probably not going to win. But you know, let's just celebrate the things that were
Right.
you know, I mean, they have an opportunity. They both have good opportunities.
It's also like the same people that are like, oh, you know, it doesn't matter if you don't get a ring. Will reference things that happened in the past that were important that had nothing to do with championship teams. And it's like, obviously you can see that important things are happening here.
It's going to be disappointing, right? I mean, unless everybody wins everything, it's going to be disappointing, and it should be disappointing, and it should hurt. You know, it's not like you're just like, oh, well, whatever, they lost. You know, what about the journey? It's not what we're saying. Like, but it's cool to enjoy it while it's happening, you know, and this has been enjoyable. Like, I think that these, you know, like you said, we have literally three things that are providing a sense of enjoyment for me in different capacities. Like the Padres are mostly an enjoyable experience, taking 2 out of 3 against the Red Sox. You know, SDFC, which got battered for long stretches of this match on Saturday night. Like that was at the end of it. It's like breathe a sigh of relief. Like how did you walk away from that with a clean sheet and 3 points? You know, like it was just like it was a thing to behold. And like you said with Wave, you know, not ideal, but you know, part of the story that you're going to tell. So, all right, where do you want to start? Padres?
I mean, I think it would make sense to start with SDFC, but I'm sure everyone listening wants you. No, everyone wants us to start with Padres. Let's start with Padres. We'll give SDFC more time later.
2 out of 3 over the weekend. That's the bottom line. I don't know what's more important, looking back over the weekend series against a pretty good Boston Red Sox team, or if it's already looking ahead to San Francisco, Los Angeles for the next 13 games inside of the division. I suppose we can put a postscript on the weekend that was.
Yeah.
And then talk a little bit about what it is that's coming up over the next couple of weeks. I think that's sort of where I'm at. It's like, okay, cool. 2 out of 3, good team. Boston. I never want to say that somebody comes into town as an unmotivated, but you know, sometimes these American League teams kind of come to San Diego. They're like, yeah, it's a fun weekend, isn't it? So, you know, the games were competitive. They were good. I thought Dylan, letters to AJ, had a really, really good summary of the 3 games. I don't know if you had a chance to read it. I think it popped out as soon as the front row seat went out earlier today.
I did not read that yet.
I would agree with his perspective that Nick Pivetta was probably trying really, really hard to impress his former team.
That's what I
shove it in their tailpipe on Friday night, because Dylan even points out he was throwing pitches that he hadn't thrown all year.
Yeah.
So, you know, he was humping it up there. He was doing a little bit too much. So that was Friday. Padres bounce back. They win Saturday. They win Sunday. They blow the save on Saturday, but they figure out a way to win in extras. A hilarious moment with Ramon Laureano, who admits he didn't even know what the signs were, so he just decided to do whatever the hell he wanted to do. I thought that was hilarious. And then on Sunday, good Dylan Cease, and you know, Padres take 2 out of 3 and set the stage for the next couple of weeks. 2 games back in the West.
Yeah, I mean, almost everyone in the lineup, with maybe the exception of Fernando Tatis, and I don't even think that's fair. Seems like they're hitting well. So like you have a real like almost 9-man deep lineup with usually Gavin Sheets on the bench. So maybe 10-man deep lineup of pretty good hitters. That's great. You have 5 really good starting pitchers in your rotation now that Michael King is back. I know it was a little bit of a shaky return, but he's back, and I think we can expect more from him than that. Things are looking up for the Padres, and I think they're in a great position. I mean, I don't remember if I was texting with Dylan or if I just saw him on Twitter say, I think it was after Saturday's win, like, this Red Sox team is really good. They're really good. And if the Padres can take a series from a really good team, that gives them a lot of hope for what the next 13 games can be. Darren, would you like an update on the Fangraphs playoff odds because I've figured out how to both look at them today and look at what they were a week ago. I know we've been kind of checking in on these on Monday, so I have both today's and a week ago. Would you like them?
John, I would love that.
Okay. Today's playoff odds for the San Diego Padres, 95.2% chance to make the playoffs, 16% chance to win the division, 2 games back of the Dodgers. A week ago, that was 87.9% chance to win the playoffs, so they've gone up 6%, and winning the division was at 13.2, so they've gone up 3% as far as the division is concerned. I imagine if they start beating the Dodgers in a couple days here, those division numbers are going to start jumping up drastically. But right now, this is looking like a playoff team, Darren.
It is looking like a playoff team. I will update on the old Tankathon website that the Padres do have the second easiest schedule in all of Major League Baseball. The Dodgers have the easiest schedule in all of Major League Baseball. Here are the teams that are the toughest opponents for the Padres. They have the Brewers for 3, Dodgers 6, Seattle 3, Mets 3, Cincinnati 3, San Francisco 7. San Francisco, that could change by midweek, that they might not be one of the tougher opponents, but they're still tougher than Colorado, Chicago, Baltimore, Minnesota, Arizona. So 7 with Colorado, 3 with the White Sox, 3 with the Orioles, 3 with the Twins, 3 with the Diamondbacks left. The Padres' opponents' combined winning percentage as of August 11th is .473. The Dodgers is .468. Dodgers still have to play the Phillies. Padres, obviously. Seattle, San Francisco for 7. Cincinnati for 3. They also have 7 with the Rockies, 3 with the Pirates. Pirates, White Sox, what's the difference? Baltimore, Anaheim, and 6 with the Diamondbacks. So 6 more against the Diamondbacks for the Dodgers. So a little bit of an advantage there that they get 6 against the D-backs. Then again, the Padres and the Diamondbacks in that building, I hate it.
Yeah.
I don't want anything to do with it. So, I'd rather not play them 3 more times if it meant having to go to that shithole. So I'm glad that they don't have to go and play them there for another opportunity. But, again, and that's just the schedule thing. Those are just numbers. Second easiest schedule mathematically. It just, this comes down to head-to-head. This doesn't come down to the dregs that you're going to play. This is exciting for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
2 teams playing each other. It sort of has a playoff feel to it, right? You and I are NBA fans. One of the things I love about the postseason in basketball is how sick these teams get of each other after about 3 games.
Yeah.
In baseball, you can feel that too. So we know what happened last time Padres and Dodgers saw one another. That'll be upcoming this weekend, starting on Friday night. But, just getting sick of each other when you face each other as many times, 6 times, 7 times in the span of a couple of weeks. So I kind of like that. I like that aspect. I think it's an added element to it. So, it doesn't matter what's going to happen. I don't think against the White Sox or what's going to happen against the Colorado Rockies or the Twins or whatever. But ultimately, I think we're looking into the stretch that's the defining stretch of the season. And, I think that's important. It feels more relevant to say it now than a lot of the times that you have to listen to people on local radio tell you that it's a defining stretch in June. Like this is like literally the defining stretch of the season.
Right, because they don't play. They play the Dodgers 6 times in the next 2 weeks, and they don't play them again in for the whole final month of the season. So yeah, whoever, if someone can win 4 out of those 6, 5 out of those 6, you almost have the division locked up. I'm sure because Padres Dodgers already felt like playoff games earlier this season. I'm sure those are going to feel like playoff games for all those reasons. I'm wondering what the Giants' motivation is because I included a quote from former Padre manager Bob Melvin in the front row seat today that was heading into this Padres series. He said, "We worry about ourselves. They're ahead of us, so we have to beat them. I think we just like the way that we're playing right now. We needed to get past what was a difficult period and a not very good period for us. It seems like we're playing a lot better." That's like such a nothing vanilla quote. And it's like, are the Giants just going to show up flat? Are they giving up? Or are they going to show up totally fired up going like, we can get our season back. If we have 7 games against the Padres and we're 7 games back of them. If we can win, 5 of these, we're right back in the thick of things, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know, maybe, but I'm going to be interested to see tonight if it has that feel of like a little extra juice or if the Giants are just like, whatever, like, it's not our year.
Well, I mean, from a competitive standpoint, from a Padre standpoint, you hope it's the latter. But from a competitive standpoint, like this has got to be it.
I'm hoping
right?
for the former. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this has got to be it. This is the time. Usually, when you look at who the playoff teams are, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, LA, Cubs are in a wild card position. Padres, Mets, those are the playoff teams currently constructed. Usually, this is about the time of the year where somebody finds a gear that you hadn't seen all year, right? Some middling team finds a gear, finds it, goes on a little bit of a run, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, this team has really put it together, right? I think Washington Nationals a couple of years ago when they won the World Series.
Yeah.
There's always a handful of these kind of teams. Sometimes it just doesn't materialize, but usually like this has to be it. And if you're not going to do it when you're playing the team that's 7 games ahead of you in the standings, like looking directly up at that team, then it's probably not going to happen. So I think we'll probably know more by Wednesday. Then again, like maybe they just don't have the horses to do it at this point. They've lost 2 straight, so I'm not sure exactly what it is Bob's talking about. But they've lost a couple straight. They're haven't been in good form for weeks, it feels like. So I don't know exactly what it is that he's watching, but he's watching it and I'm not. So I guess I'll go, okay. But 500 and 7 games back, feels like there's a lot of, I follow a lot of Bay Area media, and it feels like a lot of them, not many believers amongst the Bay Area media, that this has the ability to turn around. So I take some of my cues from them. They're not always right. Crazy things happen. But just judging a little bit the tea leaves, it doesn't feel like anybody's a believer that this thing is about to click, John, and start firing all of a sudden.
I don't quite remember what your stance on Bob Melvin was when the Padres first acquired him. I was incredibly high on him. I thought he was amazing. I thought he was exactly the manager they needed, et cetera, et cetera. Since then, it's been a troublesome few years for Bob Melvin. Do you think we were wrong about Bob Melvin? Do you think he's just not a great manager?
I like you. I was pretty high on him, just because it felt like it was, and by the way, it was valid for a year. Went to the NLCS.
Yeah.
And it was easy to pick a side during the conflict of Bob Melvin and AJ Preller and feel like, wait a second, Bob Melvin's won manager of the year. Bob Melvin was a bench coach with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Bob's won a bunch of these games.
Right.
If AJ Preller and Bob Melvin both got fired, who would get hired? Bob Melvin. Bob Melvin had a job waiting for him when he had a job.
Yeah.
So, I think it was, but the thing that I've heard, and, I wasn't sure how much of it was just sort of maybe a whisper campaign about Bob in that second season where, listen, like Bob went ice cold, I don't have any of these things in front of me anymore, but I remember like Bob was ice cold with some of his decision-making, especially his bullpen decision-making. And it's almost like, even though I don't think he was 100% at fault for leaving Robert Suarez in there against Bryce Harper, I think that there is, that we can still go back and talk about.
There's an argument to be made there.
Yeah, and that argument was that Josh Hader didn't want to go into the game, and you were going to need another reliever to close out that game. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that anybody really wanted Luis Suarez closing that one out. So anyway, or Luis Garcia.
No, Luis Garcia, yeah.
Sorry, Luis Suarez is banging goals for Inter Miami.
Yeah. Don't want him in there either.
Anyway. But I felt like that second season, he was cold. He was ice cold, difficult clubhouse, no doubt about it. Lots of moving parts there, free agents, et cetera. But he got so cold. And then that first year in San Francisco, like the people that follow the team, like he's cold. The one thing that I've heard, and again, maybe this was part of the laying of the groundwork because, it felt like everybody was going to have to pick a side between Preller and Bob Melvin. I don't know why it had to come to this, but it's like Bob talks a lot about retirement.
Does he really?
Yeah. Bob talks a lot about playing golf, and
doesn't he have kids in college on the other side of the country or something? I feel like I remember that.
He lives in Phoenix. He's an Arizona guy.
Okay.
I think full-time residency's in Phoenix, Bay Area by birth. I think he does have a kid who's somewhere around the world, someplace.
I thought I remembered he had like an apartment in New York City, and he had a kid that was going to college out there.
Maybe
and there was like a whole thing.
But yeah, even here, and if you're gonna go work for AJ Preller, sitting around daydreaming that you're gonna go play St. Andrews someday, it ain't gonna work, man.
AJ's got nothing to add to that conversation.
Thing, but that's just not gonna work if you're Bob. If you're like, you're sitting there working on, that annoying thing that golfers do where they're working on their swing. Like it just ain't gonna fly when you're in the room with the group, you know. So I think that was a little bit of a put off for some people when he was here. So they're like, why does he want to retire? Like, what's going on? So, and Bob wasn't one of these chronic, he had a balance in his life that maybe doesn't exist for some people. Bob was done. He was done. He was out. He's like, yeah, all right, I'm out of here. Taking a shower. I'm hitting the road. I don't have time. My phone's off. Don't call me. Like that's kind of how he was. And I don't think anybody thinks he's, I've seen a lot of people on social media and some of these, I wonder, is it the useful idiot type who gets slipped some information and will do the bidding of people in the front office about, how he's a bad person. I don't think he's a bad person. I don't think he's, I think that there was a lot of stuff going on there that was unfortunate and it just wasn't the scene for him. But I have always heard that Bob's definitely, he's the guy that's got the travel brochures, metaphorically speaking, in his briefcase, and on the flight, if you look over his shoulder, he's, looking at the Galapagos.
Well, and to make this about us for a second, like I remember when we were at 1090 and we would be having conversations about the future of 1090. Like I was brought in because they were like, hey, you're the digital guy. You can help us get to the future. And you kept saying, look at the guys at the top. Those guys are not going to be here in 5 to 10 years. They were in their, late 60s, I think. Mm-hmm. And you were like, they're making decisions for today. They're not making decisions thinking about how's the station going to be in 10 years? Because 10 years from now, they're clearly going to be retired. And I just, that I remembered, I started thinking about that and I started watching them and I was like, yeah, that's right. And I wonder if there's some of that too, where it's like, Bob's not making decisions for some young player comes up. He's not like, oh, I'm going to groom this kid to be great in 4 or 5 years. I'm going to take him under my wing. I'm going to make sure he's mentored by that. No, he's trying to win today, but even that's not really going well for him right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's an important thing for all walks of life, is to think, who are the people, like how close are they to retirement? Because what is their motivation? And this is where John and I started realizing, they brought John in to modernize Mighty 1090 digitally. And the only problem was John would go to present to these guys and they would look at him and go like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
They'd be like, I have no clue what you're saying. So, they wouldn't understand a single thing that John would discuss. And I mean, others tried that too. I just was chatting with Marty. Like when Marty started talking to them about all the video, they were like, what? This is radio, like men 25, 54. Got to get people to fill out a diary. And you're like, fill out a fucking diary. Like, what are you talking about? So, their motivation was just to get through the tape while they were running their race. Like that's all they were trying to do was finish their race.
Yeah.
And they were motivated by just like, I can't be setting this stuff up. This is difficult.
But that's not great for a leader, right?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of that, with Bob, and whatever. I mean, he'll have a great life. Somebody will pay him to be like an advisor and all that sort of stuff. But I'm not. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think this is just a great opportunity for the Padres. Is the long and short of it, and
for sure,
Darvish and Webb feels like it's a pretty good matchup tonight. So the pitching looks like it's pretty lined up, and the bullpen is but for a bump here or there, I mean, I mean, a lot of things look good. It's right there in front of them. I mean, I don't know what more people could ask for. It has been put right there in front of them.
Yeah.
And I can't think of the last time the Padres had this kind of opportunity, like a legitimate, real, like an opportunity to win this division.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe during COVID, and for some reason at the end of that stretch, they just decided, whatever, we're all just going to go to the playoffs, or maybe they were started in the sense that they had some broken bodies, the pitching staff. But like these opportunities to win a division title, like we said on Friday, to me is important. And man, I would love to see it. Dodgers are not playing well, but Padres are. And especially with the new energy inside of the clubhouse, like as somebody said to me who works there just the other day, he's like, our vibes are as good as they've been in years.
Yes.
And I know like vibes isn't data. See if I can find the exact quote, but somebody who works there who's been around it for all of these years said, our vibes are really, really good right now. Let's see. Vibes are high. Definitely the second best group behind only the 2023 squad, and like, that's a big deal.
And I wrote a blog post that'll be out this afternoon. And part of the thing I wrote in there was I was like, Padre fans, and I count myself as one, and they've been so terrified that if the Padres traded for anybody, that person's production was immediately going to fall off. Right? This is the result of them trading for whatever the name of that guy is from Pittsburgh, who was like leading the league in batting average and came here and hit like 150.
Right, Adam Frazier.
Adam Frazier, Austin Nola kind of fell apart. The Ryan Ludwig thing always comes up. And you know what? Everyone they've gotten has been pretty awesome. Mason Miller had like one disappointing outing. Other than that, he's been pretty awesome.
Even that outing was exciting.
It was very exciting. Ramon Laureano has been amazing. Freddie Fermin, it feels like he's getting his legs under him as a hitter, but like as a catcher, he's unique. Like you see him doing stuff that you don't see every other catcher in baseball doing. And I love that. I love seeing that. And I think that gives them a little bit of juice because they're like, ooh, this guy really knows what he's doing. Like we're in his hands and he's got us. And I don't know. I really like him. And when those guys come in and it feels like you've only added to your team and you haven't taken anything away and the new guys are real big upgrades over what you had before, that gets everyone fired up. That improves the vibes by itself. So I'm excited for that. Are you ready to switch to SDFC? Because I have a question for you.
I feel like you are ready to switch to SDFC.
I've been waiting. I told you I wanted to talk about this 20 minutes ago. So
okay,
peek behind the curtain. You sent me a text message on Friday night, I think, with players laid out on your floor, index cards with players' names and information laid out on your floor, and you had like a starting lineup. And I almost texted you back, is this the starting lineup? Do you know what the starting 11 is? And I was like, no, you know what? I want to find out later. I want to find out when the game happens. The game came out. You were off by one player. And it was actually surprising to me because the one player you were off is you had Pilcher in and Manadua out. And Manadua was in and Pilcher came in later. And I was like, that's interesting. I was wondering what went into your thought process to do that. So first, that's my question. And then if you want to lead this into, we can just geek out about Manadua as I love to do. We can do that as well.
All right. Yeah. So I was just, the way I keep my notes is I have a bunch of little cards and I write the names on them. And, it's just information for me during the broadcast that's going to be helpful. I like having some of the stats available at my fingertip just so I can have it. When's the last time such and such a person scored a goal? Little things that might come in during the broadcast, right? Like Oni Valakari started up top. 3 of his 4 goals have come when he started it as forward. So just a little thing like that, which could be helpful during the broadcast.
Yep.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. Are you sure that I was only one off? I think I might have been 2 off because I'm not sure that I had David Vasquez starting in midfield over Luca De La Torre.
You maybe had Luca De La Torre there.
So I might have had 2. Right. I knew that
you had Valakari up top.
Yeah, I knew CJ was starting.
And you had Harangi in the lineup. Which
I knew that Harangi was going to start. So I knew those 2 things just from being out there training. So that was a little bit of a heads up. I did not know that Valakari was going to start up top, but I just had a sense that was the right way to go. I'll tell you why I didn't have Dua there because Dua hasn't started as the left center back.
Oh, now, that's right. He gave up his spot to McVay last week.
He did against
right?
Mazatlan, but he hasn't in Major League Soccer.
Huh.
So, and then, I interviewed Mikey Vadas for the pregame show, and Mikey did say something. So upon further review, I should have known that Mikey was trying to give me a little bit of insight for an on-air broadcast. I asked him about, what the takeaways were from Leagues Cup, and he goes, well, we got Manu to play at the left center half with McVay.
Oh.
And, so I heard it when I was playing it, and we were in the pregame show on Saturday, and I was like, yeah, okay, I get it now. Sometimes these guys don't tell you things, but they tell you things.
Yeah.
So, and Mikey was, and he did. He gave us a heads up about Cisniega for the record. He did say that Pablo got a little bit dinged up during Leagues Cup, and he was going to miss at least this match. And he did say also, we are going with CJ for a while. So it wasn't like this was a one-off here. He said, I don't like switching my goalkeeper. So we're going to go with CJ for a little while now. So, that was a good way to,
that's interesting.
To get CJ back into the flow is pick up your 8th clean sheet. But I just wasn't sure. I just wasn't sure. And plus, Manu also played, I think, the entire match against Mazatlan. So I wasn't sure if there would be some minutes things there. But I'm glad that they started him because, man, these are not statistics that we talk a lot about in soccer. But 6 clearances, 5 shots blocked, 5 shots on goal blocked for Manu Dua all in the game, 10 blocks, 15 interceptions, 31 clearances for SDFC. And they needed every one of these. They were, like I said, getting battered between the 27th minute and the end of the first half for long stretches during the second half. I credit Kansas City. They had 2 weeks to prepare for this match. They came up with a tactical plan that none of us were expecting.
It was terrifying.
They were expecting to have two strikers out there, but man, they were flying, and they were anticipating some of the passes in a way that I hadn't seen. They were targeting some of the younger players like Aiden Harangi, who was starting his first MLS match. They were going right at that side with Harangi and where McVay was standing. So, they gave it everything. They probably deserved a little bit more from this than to not have a goal. They had a higher XG at halftime. They had a higher XG for the match. But when you got designated players who do the things that Chucky Lozano does and Anders Dreyer do, those are great equalizers here. And to be able to slip out of that environment with 3 points and a clean sheet, to me, is just, it really is. I don't want to say it was luck. I mean, it just was one of the great Houdini acts that we've seen from this club all season.
I felt like this was I think you're going to know what I mean when I say this. I felt like this was the muddiest game they've played all year. Not literally, but there was just like, no one was running plays. Nothing was going smoothly. Everything was just chaos all the time. And the reason I said we should talk about them earlier was like, I was actually wondering during the game, probably what led to my therapy things. I was like, I wonder if the Savasana is playing a big role here. Like all the chaos is going on. They're just like, calm. We know what we're doing. We've been here before. We can handle this. I saw there's obviously the one where he made a save with his head. I saw
Monadua, you're talking about. Yeah.
I saw at least 2 times where Monadua, the ball, there was just chaos in front of the net. And Monadua would like back all the way up so that he was basically playing next to CJ. And you could see he was kind of like, you get that half, I'll get this half. And he didn't need hands, just his long legs and his tall body and his head that he can aim at the ball in crazy ways. And he was basically playing like half keeper for like more than one play, including the one where he knocked it out of the goal and kept that clean sheet for CJ. He was amazing. He was amazing. Look, Chuky's goal was amazing. Chuky's goal was fantastic. I missed it live. My phone blew up with text messages from my friends like, oh my God, Chuky. And I was like refreshing Twitter. Like, where's the goal? Where's the goal? I have to see it. And then I saw it. I was like, oh, that's beautiful. The Anders goal I saw, but the Anders goal felt even more than the Chuky one. It felt like what Sporting KC was going for, where there was just like chaos in front of the net. All of a sudden Anders got it. And he's like, screw it. I'm just firing at the goal. I have it. Let's see if the luck is going to pay off. I do feel like they were a little bit lucky, but
it's part of it.
But luck is, you gotta create those opportunities or shut those opportunities down. And I mean,
listen, Sporting KC
by
missed,
CJ.
They missed the open goal 2 or 3 times. Daniel Shalhoub probably could not sleep when he went home and tucked himself into his little Sporting KC pajamas. But, he had the open goal at least twice. And, if he had been able to shape that ball in to the far post, he would have had at least a goal.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen, and the buildup, I will say the buildup to the Anders goal was really special. Because that was the longest stretch. And I'm thinking this, and I'm just waiting for Adrian to take a breath. And I was going to say, this is the best stretch of soccer that we've seen in terms of possession. This is the best bit of possession that we've seen. But Adrian's just describing pass, triangle. And then, here it is, give and go. Anders, Oni flips it. Dreyer finds the run, gets in there, scores. Wow, 12th goal, right? 29th goal contribution, sets the MLS mark all time for most goal contributions in a season for a first-year player, I think is the official stat. So, the buildup on that was it was phenomenal. According to one of the people that was covering the game for Sporting KC, that was at least 20 consecutive passes. So, he went back, looked it up. It was 20 consecutive passes that resulted in that shot, in that great shot where Oni just clips it up ahead. Dreyer's making the run, gets in on goal, slots a pass, pulls camp. So, it was a great buildup. Was it a little bit chaotic? Yeah. But it was 20 consecutive passes. The one with Chuky, I thought, was just great defensively for him. Yeah. And that, you're just not going to see a lot of these DPs do that kind of stuff. And listen, he's not Lionel Messi, so he shouldn't. But, Messi is like, Messi's not doing that stuff. Messi's not doing the dirty work. And he's just not. And he doesn't have to. They've built an entire team in Argentina, for the national team around Messi not running and not doing any of that. But Chucky is and Chucky could say, listen, like, I know I'm not Messi, but I'm the designated player here, and plus, you need to keep me healthy. I don't need to be doing this dirty work.
Right.
I don't need to be tackling, going running up Jansen Miller and kicking the ball away from him. And I get fouled every other play around here. I'm not even on the ball, and I'm getting fouled and chopped down and elbowed in the throat. Like, I'm not doing that stuff. But he did it. And he has the slide tackle and he pokes it away. And he gets it to Anders, and Anders is like, this is all you, man. Like, here you go. I'm just going to pass it back to you. Bombs away. And that was his only shot on target for the whole game. I think it was his only shot. And, Chucky scores and he puts him on the board early. I mean, I don't know who else scored in the league this week, but, that has to be a candidate for goal of the week. But, it's like the little thing that he does, and then when you wonder why the number 1 overall draft pick is running back and he's standing in goal, and why he's got these long strides that put him in a position, or why CJ is wearing this mask and he's diving out there while there's a million people trying to kick the football, and he's diving in the middle of this all.
Psychopath.
It's because when you see that Chucky's willing to do this sort of stuff, like, what's your excuse for not doing it?
Right.
Like what do you mean? Like, you're not going to do these little things, So like I do, like, I know it's very cliche, and listen, like, everybody would want Messi, but what he gives you and like what he does, some of the things that you see these guys do, Chucky, when he was tracking back against Galaxy a bunch of weeks ago, I think people remember Alex Mighton running back against Mazatlan when there's nobody there, and he runs all the way diagonally across the field to go back and make a tackle. Like, you just see a million of those little things a game again. And like, completely losing control of this match. It's like, I understand what people say. Like, not a great recipe for success. Yeah, no shit. Like, neither is loading the bases with nobody out. But when you get out of it, like the Padres did yesterday, it's kind of exciting.
Right.
So, they're not all going to be perfect. And it was hot, and Kansas City had 2 weeks to prepare for it. And San Diego had played 3 times since, and they're trying to work in some younger players. So, like, I don't know that this is one that you're going to want to say, yes, this is SDFC. But there were so many things to like about it. I don't know. Maybe the viewing experience was different. I just thought it was a thrilling match to cover because it just felt like this thing was off the rails. It was a lot of fun to be a part of the broadcast.
I was doing the suburban middle-aged dad thing. I was watching a lot of this game while standing up like 3 feet away from the TV. And like Rebecca at one point walks in. She's like, "Why are you standing up? Sit down." I'm like, "I can't. There's too much going on." It was like every 2 minutes. I was like, oh my God.
You're not going to want to, get outshot 22-5. And like 18 of those shots came in the penalty area. Like, I mean, we've not seen that. I haven't gone through every box, but I mean, even there was this stretch between the 27th minute and the 34th minute where they had like 7 or 8 shots and all of them were inside of the 18. I was like, how does this is completely out of control. Like, this is on drugs. This game is so drunk. And, again, you might breathe a sigh of relief at the end of it and be like, how did we do that? I don't know. But we did it, and you ain't going to apologize for it. Clean it up and move on to San Jose, because that's going to be another one where you figure it's going to be a little bit chaotic the way San Jose plays.
Yeah, that was definitely like a Bill Belichick win in that you got the win. Cool. You go up in the standings. Cool. Coach has a lot to work on with you this week. It's not going to be pats on the back. It's going to be, we can't survive that again. You guys better work your ass off.
And it was nice too that, Mikey has this option now of being able to say, okay, listen, I'm not sure, maybe this feels a little big for Vasquez, or he's getting a little bit lost here. He had the fewest touches. I think the second or third fewest touches.
He came off at halftime, right?
Came off at halftime. But isn't it nice that you have Luca De La Torre now who comes in and makes an immediate impact? You could see that he was going back. He was helping Manu do it. He was helping get the ball out of the defensive third. Mm-hmm. And then you also saw him. He was part of the buildup. He had a cross in that one that very easily could have been a goal. I forgot who was on the receiving end of it. Maybe it was Ani Velicari. But, still, like, you're like, okay, like, I notice him now. I'm not sure that I was really noticing Vasquez in the first half. And then, when you get this lead, you have these other options of being able to say, let's bring in, a couple of fast wingers here who we don't think are going to score all that much, but at least they're going to help us control the tempo of the game, right? We're going to bring in a little bit of speed with Boateng and with Mighton. Maybe not my first choice, but, like, bringing these guys in tactically to help you see the match out, like was really It was a night to have Pilcher come in there and spell McVay. Like these were nice options for Mikey to have, and then they even kill a minute or two late and bring in Thomas Angel. We talked about it with Mikey. Like you have real decisions now. These
Yeah.
aren't decisions that are forced upon you because you have no real roster. These are real decisions. Like you're going to have some. The bench was, I mean, it was like 8 guys on the bench. I was like, whoa, wow, what a luxury this is. And we didn't even see everybody. So I don't know. Like I said, I thought it was like beautifully chaotic. It was, wonderfully imperfect. And it just, like I said, I was buzzing when I got done with that one. I couldn't, I was super geeked up. I was ready to keep talking about it.
Yeah, I couldn't tell from the TV broadcast, and I wasn't listening with sound for most of the game. I couldn't tell how hot it was, so I thought it was really weird when, let's see, 64. So 64, 64. All right, so I thought it was really weird at the 64th minute when Godoy, McVay, and Chucky all came off at the same time, and I was like, "What the hell are they doing?" And that was also when Mighton and Boateng and Pilcher all came in.
Right.
The only thing I can figure, which I think I'm right about, even though it didn't exactly play out this way, is they were like, if we get Mighton and we get Boateng and they're at the front, they are so fast that we can start booting it long and let them go chase it. They're going to be fast. They're going to have energy because they're fresher than Sporting KC's backline. So it's like, when you have a quarterback with a big arm, you want a fast receiver who can run down the field.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I assume that they were going for. I don't think it actually worked out that way really at all in the last like 30 minutes of the match. But yeah, as you said, they're not all going to be perfect wins. They're not all going to be dominant wins. This one wasn't.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is sometimes you got to win dirty or not dirty. You got to win the ones that are not as clean. And that's what this was. And
you're not always going to be able to dictate the style, right?
Yeah.
And like SDFC does that way more than anybody, just based on possession, leading the league in possession. So, and I do like that you have the option of saying to Godoy, okay, we can get you off your feet and we can move on back there into the midfield, and we can put these 2 guys up top, and we can manage minutes here with Chucky because we feel like we should be able to see this game out, and these guys can go run around and make a little bit of a mess. I don't think we're going to score anymore here, but I think that we're going to bring these guys on, and at least you got to pay attention to them. They'll keep you a little bit honest. So, listen, I think you said it right. I think that there's probably some stuff to work on, and you guys not exactly, but when it goes off script, what are you going to do? Like how do you respond when the thing does go off script, especially given that you want to control the pace, and like it did not feel like for long stretches of this match that SDFC was in control. Like I said, I mean, after the Chucky goal, I don't think they got control back of the match, probably until the second goal. Maybe for a minute or two out of the break, they played okay, to start the second half. But that's what was so important is, there were 5 shots from SDFC. All 5 of them were on target. 2 of them went for goal. And that buildup, like the best sequence of the entire match resulted in a goal, which is like, that was rewarding, and then watching Manu do it, just stride his way through all these bodies. I mean, it's like, what are we watching? He's here 1 minute, and then he's standing over there the next second, and he's, getting in the way of these shots. You're like, wow, like, special player, man, for a guy, who was drafted in midfield and is now starting and playing 90 plus minutes at center back. Like, I don't know what it is that they saw. Like, I would love to talk to Tyler Sunday. Like, so you drafted this guy number 1 overall. He was a midfielder, and your immediate instinct was center back. Like,
why? Yeah, it's weird, but it seems to work. And like when he kept jumping in goal, I was like, "There's no way he hasn't played keeper before. Like he's way too comfortable back there." So,
well, thankfully, he didn't use his hands.
Yeah, yeah, I love Manu Dua. If they ever sell him, I'm gonna be, all for the good of the team, but I'm going to be bummed because right now he is my favorite player. I love the fact that you hand Mikey Varis like these young players that weren't really getting playing time elsewhere. And he's like, throw him in the starting lineup. Let's see what they got. Like we can, as you said with Vasquez, like, he seems a little in over his head. Okay, play a half. We'll bring in Luca, calm things down, everything. But he also, like, Manu Dua got a chance due to injuries and the international break when players are off. And all of a sudden he's so good that they're just like, all right, well, we can't take him out of the lineup. And I love the fact that Mikey coaches that way. Just like you get an opportunity, and if you're good, I'm not taking you out unless you get hurt or whatever. Like this is how Pablo Cisniega ended up the goalkeeper for a number of games. That's why I feel like Monadua is kind of the starter next to McVay. Like even if Patty's healthy, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. Speaking of,
Well, let's just keep in mind one thing real quick.
yeah,
His first start, though, did come against Minnesota United, and he did play 45. Remember, he had that pass that was a bad one back towards goal.
yes,
And it led to a Minnesota United goal, and they took him
Yes.
off at halftime. So, taking off at halftime, generally speaking, is okay, we need to, not we want to. It's a we need to do this sort of thing. And it felt like it's like, okay, maybe we need to figure something out here with him. But it didn't take long for him to get back into the mix. Pilcher started that first game against Austin back on March 23rd, and we didn't see him back there for weeks. So, and he had to learn a little bit, and it's just part of the process. But I think you're right, too, about Mikey. Like, he notices that, Son is going to LA and Thomas Muller's going to Vancouver, and
yeah, you always got to get
Rodrigo
better.
DePaul is going to Miami, and they're like, hey, here's like 4 19-year-olds. And, he's like, okay, cool. Like, let's go. Like his attitude, his like, and again, like I got a chance to sit with him, and, he's just like, let's go. Like, I'm excited. Let's get this guy in here. I need Aiden Harangi to play. Like, I need him now. Like, I need him because, Verhoeven was unavailable, and, I don't know. I don't know that he's going to be back against San Jose, but, you needed him. And it's like, hey, pal, we got you. Got your back. Go get him.
That was actually going to be my question. I was going to ask about Harangi and if you think he has a chance to supplant Verhoeven here. And I'm supposing that because it's Mikey Varis, anyone has a chance. If you're on the field, you have a chance. If you play great,
He said it on the pregame show. He said nobody on this team. Now I was, in my head, I'm like, really? Like,
yeah, not Chucky and Anders, but no one else.
But he's like, nobody. We don't want anybody to feel like, and it's, it is a little cliche, but let's also be honest here. Anders was also leading the league in goal contributions. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So it's not even a question. So, it doesn't have to be asked. But, he did say, like, we live by the spirit of competition here. Like, nobody's been guaranteed anything, which, okay. But, and I do think that he wouldn't hesitate if he were really, really poor for a stretch of time, that he would not hesitate to say to somebody, we're probably going to take a break. Yeah. I do think that, it's one of the great questions about hiring a guy like Mikey Varis is that he never really had the experience of coaching somebody like Chucky Lozano or Anders Dreyer or Yeppe, right? Like he never really coached senior players before. Can you hear the jets flying overhead?
I was going to ask what that was. Yes, I can.
Yeah. So, it was one of the very, very fair questions to ask. Like, yeah, you're great. Like you can do academy stuff and you coach the under 20s, but what's it going to be like when you got to have a difficult conversation with Chucky Lozano?
Well,
and, up until this point, I'm sure Chucky doesn't love coming off the field all the time, but yeah, Mikey's really done it well. Like he's, I think he's passed a lot of these tests in terms of, the things that I think were very fair to wonder about him as a first team head coach.
I also think it helps matters that Mikey hasn't been handed a son, right? Chucky is a superstar, but Chucky's a superstar that still needs to prove something to someone, not just MLS, but like to Mexico, right? Like I remember I was saying against Mazatlan, I'm like, this is a game that doesn't matter to them, but it matters to Chucky. And that's why the other guys were playing as hard as him, because they're like, if it matters to him, it matters to us. And Chucky's like, if this is what I need to do to prove to everyone that I'm the guy I think I am, I'm going to do it. Anders is not proven yet. I mean, it's his first year in the league, and he didn't come in as like, wow, this guy's going to compete with Messi for goal contributions. Like maybe in a year or two, he'll have that kind of stature. But I don't know that there's anyone on this team that's big enough to look at Mikey and go like, I don't need to prove anything to you or anyone else. Just put me in the lineup. Yeah. And so I think that has helped him as well. But maybe if this team is this good as they've been, and they continue being this good, it's almost to reference him a second time on this podcast. It's almost the Bill Belichick thing where it's like, look, you want to be on a winning team? You got to do what the coach says. You got to come in here. You got to do what the coach says. The team is more important than you. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for.
I also think though, I think it's right to give Mikey a ton of credit for creating the culture. But I also think a lot of this culture, and I think Mikey would tell you this too, it is the players, that Yepe and Anibal and Patty, like the players play a big role in this as well, in terms of truly holding everybody accountable. So, I do think it is a little bit of that, that they're not just gonna, we talked, or for whatever reason, we talked about the 2010 Padres and bringing Ryan Ludwig in there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that Ludwig couldn't perform, it's that Ludwig didn't fit.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that he was a shithead. It's just that he just didn't fit with how that team was succeeding.
Yeah.
And, if you're going to be a player who's going to be brought into this room right now, as it's currently constructed with the leadership that it has, doesn't matter how successful you are, you're going to have to fit in with the culture inside of that locker room, or they will move on. And, I think that's been something established there in terms of what it's like internally. It's not like this is just, yes, at the end of the day, Tyler Heaps has to make decisions. Mikey has to make decisions. They're the bosses, but they will consider a lot of the stuff that is said from inside, from some of the leadership structure, from the captains of the club.
Yes. Next SDFC game is Sunday afternoon.
Yes, baby. Get a Friday night, right?
In-
Just let it rip.
In San Jose.
In San Jose against Bruce Arena and the high score in
that's
San
where
Jose
he is.
Earthquakes.
And so you mentioned earlier they're kind of an attacking team. I forgot
yeah.
that's where Bruce Arena ended up. So they score a lot.
Should be some goals.
Not
I
if
would
CJ
imagine too. This is going to be a pretty popular destination for away fans, I would think. I mean, that's a quick flight, quick Southwest flight right into San Jose, and the stadium literally is at the end of the runway in San Jose. Have you seen it? You can Google map it. I'm not even bullshit. Like, it is literally at the end of the runway. Like, when you're in the terminal, you look out the window, you can see the stadium.
I'm just gonna Google San Jose Airport because I don't know the name of the stadium.
And it's a real easy flight, and San Jose is a fun little town, so I've been there quite a bit. But I'm not kidding. Like, it is right at the end of the runway.
What's the name of the stadium?
I don't remember these things very well.
Stadium, PayPal Park.
Yeah, there you go. Well, quite charming, isn't it? PayPal Park.
PayPal Park. Brainchild of. Oh my God, it is right at the end of the runway. Yeah.
I mean, what time's the kickoff for this one? I should probably know this.
4.
Oh, I mean, you'd be home, you'd be in your bed by 10 o'clock.
Easily.
This is, as a fan, I would absolutely I'd make a weekend out of it, but you can get up Sunday, you can hop on a plane, you can go to this match, you can be on a flight back home, I'm guessing, and you can, be at work 9 a.m. on Monday.
According to Ticketmaster, there are tickets still available for $27. According to San Diego Football, who just commented on the live YouTube stream, buses to San Jose for Frontera San Diego are sold out.
Love that.
So maybe there's going to be a lot of Frontera at this road game.
Oh, I've seen LAFC take over this building, so it's possible. It is possible. That's good info. See, we are streaming live and people are chiming in. How about that?
They are.
Well, at least Tony is, or Chiva, or whomever. I'm not sure.
Whomever. Yeah, we got a few comments throughout. We had a few people watching for the first time, even though we didn't really do anything except I tweeted out the link. So maybe we'll do this every Monday. Maybe this will become a feature for subscribers of Section 1904, a live stream each day that only they have access to. I don't know. Figuring it out.
I was very impressed with Marty Caswell's knowledge of Section 1904. She seemed like she was aware of some of the things that we've said.
Really? Like what?
Yeah.
I heard you compliment my writing and then I ignored everything else.
I don't remember, but she said something. I was like, oh, that you had to have listened for that one.
By the way, did you see we got lots of compliments on the interview with Chef Emily on Friday? Lots of compliments.
Why wouldn't we? That doesn't surprise me.
I'm just the Discord was in love. All of social media was in love. They were like, "This is one of the best interviews you've done." I mean, I thought so. I thought Chef.
She's
Emily
a baller, man.
She was fantastic. I like her.
She is a baller. I would love to keep chatting with her about food.
Well, of course, especially because after we went off the air, she basically told me I can come by at any time and she'll cook me whatever I want from the show. She'll make me get stuff that she made from the show.
Was that just an invite for you?
Okay, so I think it was an invite for both of us, and I kind of accepted just me, not you. And I know that was an awkward moment, but I didn't want to volunteer you to drive all the way up here to Northern California.
Right. Yeah.
I know you don't like coming up to whatever you call it, L.A., Orange County, whatever you call
Take the
it,
train.
Carlsbad.
But if it's Chef Emily, I mean, I would do it. And my wife's got some. I think she's got I think Bob's Steakhouse is one of hers.
Now we can go to Bob's then.
Yeah. So I'm down for that one.
There's a really fantastic wine bar right around the corner from there too, so we can go from Bob's to the wine bar.
That's exciting. Buses, huh? They're busing from San Diego to San Jose.
I'm trying to think. I've done that drive before, and I think it's like 7 hours. But that's like in a car doing like 90. Maybe it's probably more. It's probably longer in a bus.
Oh, that bus is. I mean, it's gonna be a fun bus ride.
Yeah. I don't know where. I wonder where they're getting the drinks from.
Oh man, away days. Yeah, and like, how many times will they have to refuel on the way up there? I don't mean fuel up the bus. I mean fuel up Frontera.
Maybe one of both.
Yeah, a little bit. That sounds like a ton of fun.
That does sound like a ton of fun.
I know. Gosh. I mean, listen, being in broadcasting is great, but every once in a while, you're like, God, being a fan is fun too, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It really is. It's a lot of fun. Well, good on them. I mean, that'll be a fun match. And if the bus thing isn't for you, then like I said, I'm pretty sure you could probably find a flight that is reasonable. San Jose is a fun little town, man. You ever been there? Like it is. I went up a couple times for some of the soccer matches when they were being played at Levi's Stadium. So first time I went up there was the Copa America Centenario. So the Copa America that was played there in 2016, I think. Leah and I took a flight morning of the match, went up. It was USA and Colombia, and it was like our whole flight was just filled with Colombians. It was amazing. Everybody was dressed in the yellow.
Hell yeah.
Everybody was wearing the Valderrama wigs. It was incredible. It was such a great vibe. We went out, had a ton of fun in the city, went to the games. Jordan and I went back up there for the Mexico and Chile match. I went to a handful of them. As a matter of fact, one of our frequent contributors on the Discord, Omid, he had lived up there at the time. And I think he was working for Netflix and still does. And he came and picked us up and took us to a different match. This was like FC Barcelona against Manchester United. But it was the first time I was ever in a Tesla, in a self-driving Tesla. He was like, hey, lick my no hands. I was like, whoa, man, it's different up here in the Bay Area. But it is. If you've never been, San Jose's got a fun little vibe downtown. And that stadium, PayPal Park, used to claim that it had the biggest outdoor bar anywhere in the United States. I don't know if that's still the case or not, but I suspect our people know how to have a good time, and I suspect that they will have a good time.
I feel like the Old Town Vegas now has the biggest outdoor bar in the country, but I might be wrong about that. Yeah, I have an uncle who lives in San Jose, and I went and I visited him, I don't know, like 2005, around there. We went to a Sharks game. We got out, and I was like, yeah, let's go like paint the town. We walked out, and downtown San Jose was just dead. Dead. And I was
like 11.
I was like, what is this? And he was like, yeah, it doesn't really do late nights. Everyone's just kind of here. And he was like, it's a lot of like office spaces and people working during the day. And I was like, this is kind of lame. So no, I never got to enjoy the nightlife of San Jose.
I think it's like a good like day drinking kind of place, like day party. Like they have this main street that's closed down to traffic. So, and I haven't been since COVID, so maybe it's completely different than I remember. But it was a lot of fun. There's a lot of cool little cafes and restaurants. You could sit outside. But you're right. When we got home from the match, which was its own challenge, getting out of Levi's Stadium was a disaster.
Yeah.
But when we did get back, I think our options were limited to like street food, which you know is fine by me. I don't really mind that, but it wasn't the most balanced dining experience that we had. And lots of hotels and things, and you could find places to go belly up and such. But yeah, I know. I wish we were going.
I know, me too. We'll have to plan this out again. Next time they go to San Jose, we'll plan a little day trip.
8 more to go, man. 3 wins away from MLS expansion immortality.
I was trying to figure out, because I was looking at the standings. I was like, San Jose's pretty good as far as the standings. Atlanta is actually pretty bad. LAFC and Minnesota, we know, are good. Houston got us last time, but I feel like we're going to get them back. By the way, this is how I found out this morning. I almost texted you about this, but I figured it out on my own. FOTMob, which you have me obsessed with. I love this website. They have listed 7 more games for SDFC. Not 8, 7. And I was doing the math, and I'm like, they've played 26. They're supposed to play 34. There's definitely 8 more games. And I literally went to San Diego FC's website and saw they play their final match, I think on October 18th.
Yeah, that's a decision day. Very dramatic. We need music for that. Dun, 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 decision day.
FOTMob only has the schedule through October 4th. So for some reason, they don't have the last game, which I think is also against Portland. They don't have the last game of the season on SDFC's schedule. So I had to track that one down. It's really funny how different like stats and schedules and everything is from like site to site when you're following MLS.
Yeah, final one is Portland away.
Yeah.
Timbers Army. That's another fun place. I've actually
Yeah.
seen MLS. I've seen a game there.
Actually, as outside chance, we'll see how my finances are looking, but outside chance I might make a run up there because one of my best friends lives in Portland. One of my wife's best friends lives in Portland. They've both been begging us separately to come up there. So maybe me and my buddy will go catch a game. My wife can go hang out.
Have you
with her
been
friend. To Portland?
Yeah,
a couple times. Love that city.
Fun place.
It's a fun place. Actually,
I proposed moving there to my wife and got shot down immediately.
It does snow in the winter. She's probably against that.
Yeah, and I think as somebody who travels a little bit, she's like, listen, that airport ain't cutting it.
I like that airport. Goofy carpet throughout the airport. I like that airport.
Well, it's just like this single lane and everything would be a connection. So
that's fair.
If you're traveling as much as she does, it's just not a practical thing for her to do.
It's
By
fair.
the way, I do want to highly recommend because we started the show called The Studio on Apple TV.
I just finished it.
Oh my
literally like a
God.
day or two ago. I was going to ask you about it. This show's incredible.
It is. It is now we're only through 6 of them. I will say, the first one, it's Seth Rogen, so it's his humor through and through.
Yeah.
And like it is laugh out loud funny. Some of it is like almost cringy. Like
it gets cringy. Yeah.
But what happened is we liked the first 2 enough that we watched the third, and the third one was completely lost on Leah because she's never seen Chinatown.
So when they're doing the single shots,
and everything was Chinatown, everything happening in that episode was all about Chinatown, and she had no idea. She's like, "This is so stupid." I was like, "No, it's Chinatown." He's like Jack Nicholson when he's wearing the coat and he's talking, but he's talking to his therapist on the phone.
Oh yeah.
And then so like I felt like it was a real important moment of us. Like, are we going to continue or are we not? And then we watched the next 3, and oh my God, they were so good. I mean, the episode where he is dating the doctor and goes to that fundraiser is so brilliant. And he goes to the fundraiser.
I don't remember this. How do I not remember this? No, what was the fundraiser for?
Like pediatric cancer.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and he's dating this doctor, and they realize halfway through this charity dinner that like he's obsessed trying to say that filmmaking is as important as being a doctor. And then
he won't let it go.
I mean, the characters are phenomenal. Even like the small details, like who's the number 1 assistant guy with his 2 kids, and the one kid is talking like a baby, and he takes him out to lunch, and they want nothing to do with the dad.
Sal Saperstein.
Like all of those details
you'll learn Sal's name for sure.
Yeah.
You're only a couple episodes away from it getting repeated about 1,000 times.
And the cameos are so good. Ron Howard's cameo. Come on, man.
He's always willing to make an ass of himself. That's one of Ron's best things.
The show is, and like good for him. Like it is totally self-indulgent, right? We would admit that for Seth Rogen, but the way it's shot too is incredible with these long shots.
It's a show for film nerds. It's totally a show for film nerds. It's
100% self-indulgent from Seth Rogen, but good for him, man. Like that's the show that he wants to do, and that's the show that Apple TV gave him, and so he's doing the show that he wants to do, and I didn't realize it had been nominated for 20 plus awards.
Yeah.
But it is brilliant. It is really like, I don't use this word a lot. Like there's some brilliant television there.
There's one shot, and I was freaking out while it was happening. And like Rebecca was like, you have to stop and tell me why you're freaking out because I don't know what's going on. And I think it was in episode 1 or 2 when Seth Rogen goes and he visits the woman whose job he kind of took, and he visits her at his house.
Yeah. Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah, and first they're walking all around the house, and that's all one long shot. But then they go outside, and they have a shot that starts from like a mile away, and it just keeps zooming in while they're having a conversation. It's getting closer, and you have this like view of the LA skyline in the background, and it's such an incredible shot that I'm like, movies would have won Oscars for this shot alone, and it's in like episode 3 of a random TV show. I love that show.
And you say that, right? Like the one character, Quinn, right? Like the episode that was so funny for us was the episode where she just wanted the parking space.
Yeah.
And they show like Sal pulling into his parking space, and then they zoom out and it's the drone, and it goes over all of those buildings all across the lot. and it shows her trying to get into the other lot. And the guy's like, "Nah, man, you got to park it down the road."
Yeah.
And it just set up the whole rest of the episode. But it was the camera shot that was so brilliant to watch these guys come in. And then, I'm sure it was edited. I'm sure it wasn't a drone that flew over, but it was given that appearance that it was this long camera shot. And so many of those happened during the show. And it's great. Like, I can't say enough about it. Maybe it takes a ridiculous turn here over the next couple of episodes, but we are all in. And like I said, there was that one moment. If you haven't seen Chinatown, I think that third one will probably be maybe a bit of frustration.
No, it's still really good. It's still really good.
And the cameos, Olivia Munn's in that one, right?
Is she?
And Zac Efron, like, how funny was Zac Efron's character?
Zac Efron was so good.
When they're having the rap party, and he's like, "Bro, we don't like you. We don't want you here. But fuck it, you're here now, so you might as well stay." I mean,
there's the last two episodes are like kind of like a continuation. It's like one big episode that's kind of like split up, and it's almost like The Hangover. Like the movie The Hangover, where it's like shit is just getting more and more and more chaotic, and there's just like random celebrity sightings and it's just so funny. And Dave Franco, I don't know if you know who Dave Franco is. He's like this tiny little role that just keeps reappearing, and it's just the funniest. Every time he showed up, I was laughing my ass off.
Yeah, it's really good. Again, I know the humor's not for everybody, but man, it is just aesthetically a very visually stunning show. All right. We still got to watch our Welcome to Birmingham, so maybe we should make a plan of doing that.
Yeah, is it out? Did they like release the whole thing, or
a couple of those episodes are out? Brady is just getting destroyed. How about a stupid statue, by the way?
I was, what do you find stupid about it? Because I was looking
at the size of his head.
Size of his head is pretty funny compared to everything else. But like I had in my head, it's the statue I'm holding up a fist. And like in my head, I was like, is he the Olympian, like the Black Olympians who's like holding it up for like Black Power? Like it looked weird, but then I was like, if I were to make a statue of Tom Brady, it probably would be like him having a helmet in one hand and like pumping his fist with the other and yelling something stupid. So like at first I thought stupid, and then I came around to it. Size of his head is funny though.
I don't know. All right, well we'll try to give you. We have some guests lined up. We'll tell you about them tomorrow. All right. Well, I don't know. Was this a success?
I think so. We had a bunch of people, watching, a bunch of people chiming in.
Well, we haven't promoted it, so
yeah, not much. I'm gonna see if I can figure out how to do this for just our Section 1904 subscribers, because I thought this was a fun way to kind of engage with them while we were having our
been sitting here live for 2.5 hours.
Yep.
Without even moving.
Don't need to do that every day.
Should we have Marty on the show? Should we invite Marty on the show?
Absolutely. Honestly, the only reason I haven't mentioned it to this point is I was like, the best reason to have Marty Caswell on a show. And actually, you guys talked about this. I was like, the best reason to have Marty Caswell on a show is to talk NFL. And then she was like, I don't really care about the NFL anymore. I was like, all right, maybe not. Maybe we need a different NFL person.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'd be lying if I said that we have a strategy here for what our NFL coverage is going to look like. But
as of right now, it's maybe talk to a fantasy football person every now and then. Doesn't need to be much more than that. And, I'm sure it'll be part of the weekend recap. Hey, did you see this on Red Zone or whatever?
All righty. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the support. Thank you for tuning in, whichever platform it was that you were tuning in. We'll probably be pretty active on the Discord later. I do want to bear down and watch this Padres and Giants game tonight because I do love watching Darvish and Webb. Pretty tasty. So we'll be pretty active there. We'll do it again tomorrow. If this is your first experience with Section 1904, thank you. Appreciate it. Feel free to check it out online and maybe subscribe. Support some local independent media. We need you and can't do it without you. So thanks to those that have, and welcome to those who will. For John, I'm Darren. We'll do it again tomorrow.